Hey friends, it is Sunday, which means it is Carnivore Day 5 for me. And it's interesting because I feel like what I really learned about putting out that first video is I have to be really careful not to make goofy faces because my husband uses them as thumbnails. No, it was really awesome to put that video out and just see the support and comments and tips that y'all left, and I really appreciate that. So far it has been really good. I've been feeling good. The first day I felt like a contestant on Alone. Have you ever seen that show where like they drop them off at the drop point and invariably they talk about, I'm gonna win this thing, I'm gonna be the last one standing, I'm gonna like conquer this area, nobody's gonna do better than me. And it's funny because I feel like the first day, actually the first 2 days, I was like, I've got this, no problem. And then day 3 I did not do so well. My mindset was a little bit less excited. I did not plan well and plan ahead for food to have ready, and so it was a little bit defeating. But I have decided to not like let those kind of moments and let those intrusive thoughts ruin it for me. So I stayed on the diet. There was nothing that happened that shouldn't have. It just, my mindset wasn't great in it, and so that was interesting to me. And so it really reminded me that preparation is going to be super important, otherwise I'm not going to do well. So I have on my phone, I have all the measurements I took Wednesday morning, and I have just really been thinking differently about food. And the one thing I will say already is I like sweet coffee, and I had been buying these sugar-free syrups from the store to use in my coffee, like as a flavoring and as a sweetener, and just cutting those out. I'm like, okay, black coffee is not nearly as gross as I thought it was going to be. And somebody on one of the comments said, make sure you get decent beans, like that's going to make a big difference. And it was also recommended that I put a little bit of salt in it, which cuts some of that bitterness too. And both of those suggestions have been awesome. So that was really helpful. But already I'm like, you know what, I don't want to go back to adding all those chemicals and sweeteners and like the flavorings back in. I feel like I was already feeling a little convicted that they weren't super healthy for me. And so this has been one of those things where it's like, okay, I can handle not having sweet coffee. And even if I add some back in, which I'm not good with moderation, but if I were to add some back in, or it was like an off day or something like that, that might be okay, but not an all the time thing. And so that's probably something that's going to stick with me for the foreseeable future, even after the 30 days is over. I have not noticed any like super significant changes in attitude or energy levels or any of that yet. I feel like I have been sleeping better, but my two littlest were also waking up a lot during the night for the past couple weeks, and so them sleeping through the night also contributes to me sleeping through the night, so that's been a plus. But I don't know, I mean, so far I feel like there are positives and no negatives, and so that is definitely encouraging. That is encouraging to me, because I think a lot of it is going to be mindset, but I kind of went into it going, okay, I'm doing this, but I'm not real sure. And I told Aaron I need to be really careful with my mindset as far as like, yes, I've committed to doing this for 30 days, but that doesn't mean I should be plotting now like how I'm going to go nuts on day 31 and eat all the carbs that I haven't been eating for a month. Like, that seems a little defeatist. And so just kind of trying to think about like, how do these foods that I like to eat actually make me feel? And is the, so somebody had said carnivore, like, is it worth doing, like, for what percent increase is it worth doing? If I feel 50% better, is it worth sticking to this lifestyle? Like, what is that number? What is that percentage? And in the same way, if eating this bagel makes me feel 20% worse, is it worth it? If eating this, pizza makes me feel 50% worse, is it worth it? And so kind of evaluating foods that way too, where it's like, yeah, it might taste good, but is it going to make me feel how I want to feel? One of the comments I read recently said, and I don't remember what video it was on, but it's like, I like myself better when, your mind is clear, when your weight is off, when you're, all those kinds of things. And I was like, that's legitimate. Like, am I kinder? Am I patient? Am I, you know, all of those things, because my mood is regulated better. And that's something I'm trying to pay attention to as we get further into this journey. You know, do I like myself better because of how I feel? You know, am I responding to my life better because of that? There's probably a more cohesive way to say that, but hopefully you know what I mean. But anyway, again, I will probably do one more update and add it onto this before we actually post a video. But so far, I've just been blown away by the support and the comments, and so far so good. So anybody that is doing this challenge with me, let me know. How is it going? What positives have you seen? Have you seen any negatives? Like, where are you at? Because I just think it's so interesting, and really just paying attention to those things will help me evaluate, is this worth it? Is it something that I'm going to do long term, or is it something that I might swing back to as in a cycle? What is that going to look like for me? So let me know. Good morning. It is the morning of day 8, which means I have successfully finished my first week of the carnivore diet. It has gone really well. I talked about in my last check-in just how being unprepared for a couple days made it a little bit harder. But once I kind of realized that that was going to be a struggle, I haven't gone back to that. So I've been prepared going in, and kind of as a catch-all, like if I don't have a good plan, I always have eggs, and I've got some cooked bacon, so if I can get a meal together quickly before I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm starving. I think it's so interesting that once I know kind of where the shortcomings are, it's a lot easier to combat them. So I also retook my measurements this morning. I was down about 3 pounds, although I've seen about 1 pound lower on the scale earlier this week, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but I may have been dehydrated. I'm not worried about it. So down about 3 pounds this morning from my starting weight, down about 1 inch in my chest, waist, and hip measurements, which I thought was surprising. That seemed like a pretty high number to me, but we'll see. But so far so good. I think it's been really encouraging, just having support on here, and just also people in my life that are cheering me on and encouraging me, and some of them even kind of coming alongside of me in this and doing it with me. So it's been really good. I've been happy with it. I have not seen any like drastic results, like just right out of the gate, but I do think that I am kind of evening out in like the crazy hunger, like I have to eat now, I'm starving, and then the crash, and then coming back up. I have not noticed a whole lot of the like I'm super hungry, now I'm super full, now I'm crashing, now I'm super hungry again. I feel like that's evened out a little bit, where it's like, yeah, I'm starting to get hungry, so I'll eat something, and it's like, okay, I'm full, we're good. But not like overly full, and never like, oh my goodness, I'm starving, so I'm going to eat whatever I can get my hands on. So that's been nice. And I think even just being mindful of the fact that it's a different way of eating probably helps with that a little bit, but just also not the ups and downs of the sugar highs and crashes is good. One thing that I've been kind of secretly paying attention to, I tend to crack my knuckles, which is not anybody's favorite, including mine. And I was wondering if on this carnivore diet, if some of that like inflammation feeling and that like pressure that I feel in them would go away. And so far, I mean, it seems like maybe a little bit, but certainly not a lot. I'm pretty sure if you ask Erin, he'd be like, no, she still cracks her knuckles just as much. So that's something I am paying attention to, or trying to pay attention to, as kind of like one of those markers for me. Is this something that's getting taken care of? Is this something that I see less of? I would also say that my desire for sweets has not completely gone away, but it has significantly lessened. And I find that the times that I'm like, oh my goodness, I really want to eat something that isn't on this plan, is when, again, I'm not prepared and I let myself get hungry. And if the kids have treats out, then it's like it's right in front of me, so it's a little bit harder to just ignore it. But overall, I think, again, it's been good. The coffee thing has not bothered me nearly as much as I thought it would. Not having the highs and lows kind of makes things worth it. So we will see. We'll see how it continues. We'll see what the next 23 days hold. But so far so good. I definitely think it's a good kind of reset and refresh. And I'm interested to see, once I get to the end of the 30 days, what happens if I were to introduce even just the carbs and vegetables. What happens if I introduce a piece of toast? Like, will I see a significant change in how my body feels? And from what everybody is telling us, or telling me, yeah, I mean, I think it will be a much more dramatic response to those foods after kind of having gotten all of them out of my body. So we'll see what that looks like. I'm curious. And again, I'm not planning on day 31 going, I can eat whatever I want, let's go. That is not the intention. But I am curious to see what that might feel like. Although I don't know if I'm curious enough to just be like, let's do it to get the results. That seems a little counterproductive, so we'll see how that goes. If you are joining me on this 30-day challenge, or if you started your own 30-day challenge in that time frame, just let me know how it's going. I'd be curious to know what day you're on, what changes you've seen, and what things maybe you're still hoping to see. So for me, I've seen some weight loss, I've seen some measurement changes, I have seen some evening of the hunger pains and crashes and sugar crashes, and I am watching for like the inflammation feeling in my hands to see if that goes away, less joint pain, so that I'm not messing with my fingers and cracking my knuckles as much, which will make everybody happy. So we'll see how it goes. Thank you again for joining me. Thank you again just for your continued support of me and Erin on this channel. Erin, yeah, that was right English. Right English. Oh my goodness. That was proper English. That was correct. Anyway, Erin, just cut all this out and don't use my words. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your support of Erin and me. And I just appreciate y'all being along on this ride with us. Have a great day.